The richest surrogate for Kamala Harris, billionaire business owner Mark Cuban, thinks conservative and independent women working for Trump are stupid and unaccomplished.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple. They're intimidating to him. He doesn't like to be challenged by them.
Yeah, well, speaking of someone who has challenged him on many occasions, and I think he still respects my opinion, that's a really dumb comment. So just proving billionaires can be bozos as well, I guess, Mark? Well, here's a fact check for Mark doesn't have a Cuban. Here's a small list of those supposedly unintelligent women associated with Donald Trump. His wife, Melania, I don't know, does Mark Cuban speak 5 languages? His campaign manager, Susie Wiles, a seasoned political pro. America First Policy Institute chief Brooke Rollins, brilliant. Linda McMahon, also with AFPI, former WWE exec, came up from nothing. Kellyanne Conway, of course we all know Kellyanne, Governor Sarah Sanders, Kayleigh McEnany, and the list goes on and on. Now, of course, Cuban was responding to comments made last night by former President Trump.
People told me about 4 weeks ago, I was saying, no, I want to protect the people. I want to protect the women of our country. I want to protect the women. Sir, please don't say that. Why? They said, we think it's very inappropriate for you to say so. I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them. I'm going to protect them from migrants coming in. I'm going to protect them from foreign countries that want to hit us with missiles and lots of other things.
Well, of course, it's clear what he means, that he would be a strong president. Yeah, a protector. The president's supposed to protect us, right? Protector of our borders, our economy, and for all people, even for liberal female voters who don't support him now. And all the women I know, and yes, including Democrats, they do love men who are protectors. What do they think we want? Men who break and can't fix things? Not attractive. Now, it's not sexist for men to want to protect women, and it's not weak for women wanting men to protect them. Sorry, it's natural. But when Harris is on the trail, she rarely seems natural, and she always seems like she's just reciting rehearsed lines. In this case, pretending to be offended by Trump, the protector.
Did everyone hear what he just said yesterday? That he will do what he wants, quote, and here's where I'm going to quote, whether the women like it or not. We must vote because this is the thing. You know, there's a saying that you got to listen to people when they tell you who you are, who they are. And this is not the first time he has told us who he is. He does not believe women should have the agency and authority to make decisions about their own bodies.
Oh, their agency. Ooh, she sounds like a big lawyer lady there. Actually, she's just thoroughly unconvincing. It doesn't matter how much she laughs her way through her remarks. It doesn't matter that she claims to be a uniter who will work with both sides. None of that changes the fact that at her core, she is a divisive San Francisco radical. And with her and her, call you a Nazi or a Hitler because what? She's going to do that because she can't defend her own agenda. Everything she did as VP hurt women. Her open borders, which let migrants in who abused, trafficked, raped, and even killed women and girls. Her inflation that robbed young women of the chance to buy a home. That forced senior women back into the workplace to afford daily life. That forced women to raid their 401ks. And yeah, her demonic trans agenda that forced women to compete against biological men in sports. And Kamala claims to be pro-choice, but when it comes to vehicles, her climate change mandates will give women no choice in automobiles. If Kamala wins, most will be forced to ditch their gas-powered cars, I like mine, thank you very much, for EVs. And or the Greeniacs have their way, there'll be no cars at all. That's the ultimate dream. So how is any of this pro-women? Now, female voters, I guess, are supposed to agree to a lower standard of living and unsafe streets and throw in perpetual war just because the Supreme Court returned the abortion decision to the states? Okay, someone has to explain that to me. How's that logical? The women who people like Mark Cuban look down on aren't one-issue voters.
What's driving your vote?
I just think securing the border and hopefully boosting our economy. I voted for Trump and Trump 2024. I think he truly made America great his last run, and I hope he can do it again.
Farmers matter, automotive matters, Trump matters, and he's going to take care of the farmers and the automotive industry.
Trump's supporting women. He's for women's rights and even fertility rights. And I like that he's against abortion and keeping our country safe.
But Democrats and their media boosters are so flummoxed by Trump's staying power that they keep falling back on the F word. Even his wanting to protect women now is a threat.
When you look at him as the protector, I'm not sure what he's talking about. It's kind of some sick, distorted, fascist way.
Of course, most of these people don't believe that Trump is a threat to women, just like they don't believe he's a fascist or Hitler. They're just out of ideas. And actually, they're just out of gas. And all they can do is hope to scare enough women to push Kamala and her terrible record over 270 electoral votes. And look, they have a lot of money. They may succeed. But you're supposed to take solace in stories like this. Right now, more women, Democrats say, and it looks like this is the case, than men are voting early, 55 to 45. But that also includes GOP women voters as well. So we'll see how things end up on Tuesday. But the trends now are obviously positive in favor of Trump. The most accurate poll of the 2020 cycle, Atlas Intel, has Trump up in 6 of the 7 swing states right now, although the margins in some of them are very, very tight. Now, remember, Kamala signed off on a strategy to go light on policy and heavy on fear and smear during this campaign. And in the end, they went all in on January 6th and fascism with a touch of "your garbage," courtesy of Biden. She repeatedly lies about the abortion issue to frighten women. And of course, the press isn't going to fact check her. But Trump, he answered her by smiling at the McDonald's drive-thru, by having fun taking reporters' questions in a garbage truck, and by forging on undaunted. So confident that he's keeping states like New Mexico and Virginia in play. But remember, Kamala and her surrogates don't think women voters need to hear solutions on inflation or the border, only abortion fear-mongering. Now, which candidate insults and patronizes women again? And that's the angle. Now, we should note that Mark Cuban tweeted out a clarification earlier today, noting that there are strong, intelligent women who support Trump. But his comment is in line with the personal nastiness going all the way back to Hillary's deplorables comment.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.